What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. It's time to get into the one to watch for the year. We're going to talk about the people to watch out for that are going to have a standout year in AEW and WWE this year, 2022 edition. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, are Callum Wiggins.
Hello there.
Hello, Callum. And Robert DeFelice.
This podcast is the one to watch. Watch this.
Watch this, listen to it, check it out on multiple platforms. You might be on YouTube right now. You might be on Amazon Music or Spotify or iTunes or Stitcher or anything, but listen to it all. Put it on like 5 different things all at the same time. Try to sync it up. That's your goal for this year, is to do that as many times as possible. Drop your comments below. Tell us your thoughts throughout this whole discussion too. Tell us what you think about our picks. Tell us what your picks are for these different categories, because we're going to break down some multiple different categories here. We're kind of, expanding on to one to watch. We used to do just one to watch for WWE, and we also used to do the Future Endeavors forecast, but we stopped doing that because they started releasing fucking everybody, including yesterday. Some releases happened, so I'm really glad that we're not doing a Future Endeavors forecast anymore, because it just wears on your soul. So I wanted to expand this a little bit more, and I figured this year we'll have some discussions on whether it's the AEW or the WWE side, the women's division, the tag team division, the men's division, and the overall pick. And then when we get the overall pick from WWE, the overall pick from AEW, then we'll have to decide, all right, gun to your head, who's the overall pick between the two? Who is your definitive one to watch from both companies kind of thing? So, of course, we will break that down side by side, section by section as this goes along. No real rules to this. You don't have to pick anybody that they just showed up and this is a breakout year, in a sense of being like they need to be brand new. It could be somebody that's just going to break out in the sense of this is going to be the year where they actually achieve high level stuff. They could have been there for years and years ahead of time, and it's just you think that this year they're going to just kick ass this year. A lot of people misconstrue this and they think that it's who's going to be the breakout new person. It doesn't have to be. So you could theoretically pick somebody like Seth Rollins, and you could be like, Seth Rollins is going to be the one to watch for this year because he is going to win the Royal Rumble and win the championship and, do 20 other things and become a Grand Slam champion 9 times over. Whatever it is, I don't know what your qualifiers are. We might have all different things. So keep that in mind as well as we're going along here. And of course, make sure that you are subscribed. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button. Ring that little notification bell as well to know when we go live on things or when new videos get posted, at least on the YouTube side of things. And if you are in the YouTube stuff, you want to help us out on the monetary side of stuff, then hit that little thanks button and also click the join button, become a part of that, because that's the same thing as the Patreon. If you're more into Patreon, go to patreon.com/smarkoutmoment. Take advantage of the Darkcast tier, the Pick a Poison tier, where you can request things, and you can also pick up some stuff on TeePublic and Redbubble. I will be talking to you guys about Manscaped plugs down the line, but I'm trying to sort out exactly what it is. If you are interested in picking some up on Manscaped right now, I'm not 100% positive which of the two things is how it works. We're trying to figure that out right now. So it's either manscaped.com/smark or the code SMARK might be reactive again. Keep that in mind. Kind of an unofficial plug. There you go. All the plugs out of the way. It's only 3 minutes into the video, and now we get into the discussion. I'm sure you're all going to enjoy that a lot more, especially Lars Sullivan. So I've got notes. I know Callum said that he's going to kind of wing it. What about you, Rob? Do you have people in mind?
If you think I'm doing anything but wing it, come on, dude. You know who I am.
Just wanted to be sure. I don't know. You might have had some notes down. So I have multiple people to discuss for each thing and then an actual pick for each one of these categories, because I decided, I'm not going to cheap it and just be like, I've got 6 people for the one to watch in this one. Let's start off with the women's division in AEW. I had 4 people down on my list as people to watch out for. One of them just won a championship yesterday, Jade Cargill. 2 other people that I was kind of like, I don't know. And then my actual pick, which it was between Cargill and my actual pick, which is Thunder Rosa. My philosophy being, Cargill, I figured, was guaranteed to win the TBS championship, and she did. But as much as I think she might carry that throughout the most of the year and potentially even win the women's championship this year. I don't think that that's a guarantee. And if she's on the secondary title, I didn't want to give her the same platform as Thunder Rosa, because I think Thunder Rosa is going to be the one that beats Baker. And I don't know when exactly they'll pull the trigger on that, of course. I'm thinking maybe around Double or Nothing time. But I kind of feel like this is going to be the year of Thunder Rosa more than anyone else. At least as far as the women's division goes. We'll talk about later on if it's Cheats the overall pick. But what are you guys thinking? AEW women's division. Anybody standing out? Thunder Rosa as well? Cargill? Other people?
I mean, Thunder Rosa, absolutely. You know, this is going to be the year that she and Britt Baker headline a pay-per-view, I think. And Jade Cargill as well, but of course she's already won the belt. I think this will also be the year where they do something good with Julia Hart, some of the younger stars that they have. You know, but if I had to pick one person, I'm going to side with you and say Thunder Rosa this year, because it's the first full year she's committed to AEW, because she was in NWA beforehand, and now she can really let loose in AEW, and they can build around her and build to that title win.
Thunder Rosa is undoubtedly the standout pick. I think it's pretty certain that she'll win the AEW Women's Championship this year. And she is the second biggest star that they have in the women's division in AEW right now. So that kind of, just from my own perspective, it makes me reluctant to pick her, because she's already a pretty made star. And I tend to go ones which are a bit more breakout or a bit more out there, if I can hope to do that. Like, I'm looking at people maybe like Layla Hirsch, because she's currently now into the formative stage of the heel turn. I've been fantasy booking in my head the prospect of her joining up with Team Taz, and maybe that being a launching pad for her. I think this could be a year that we see Chris Statlander either win a TBS or even win TBS or the World Championship, because she's improving a significant amount and has a good presence as well. Obviously, Jade Cargill's there. I think they do need to do some sort of build towards Ruby Soho eventually winning a championship, because that's kind of been the big thing surrounding her, is the fact that she never won a title in WWE. And now she's in AEW, she's already had 2 championship opportunities. She's lost both of them, so she's doing a bit of an underdog story in that regard. And Serena Deeb will be great as well. But if I'm going to go for someone who's a bit outside of the top rankings, or ones where I feel it's a bit more given, I'm going to go with Athena.
Huh. You're just throwing her into the company and doing that at the same time. That's definitely an outsider pick. She's literally an outsider.
I think it would be an incredible misstep from the AEW side of things if they didn't sign Ember Moon, or Athena as she'll almost likely be called, to AEW, because she has great wrestling ability. Obviously, I think it started to curtail a little bit towards the end of WWE run, but I don't know how much it was kind of a hands-tied situation, or whether it's just a case that giving this new lease of life will unlock more of a fire within her. She can maybe develop more of a character that she wants to see, rather than that weird amalgamation Ember's Law stuff that she was coming up with towards the end of her WWE run. But I feel like if they bring her in, she should be she immediately becomes one of the most capable workers in the company, and so that should hopefully elevate her to a degree. AEW doesn't tend to just have someone come in and then immediately push them towards championships, so I'm not saying that I don't think that it's likely she'll be a champion by the end of 2022, even if she gets signed as immediately as she can. I just think that she'll be in the very top end of the picture by the end of 2022.
I also wanted to shout out, I think that Taikon Chi is going to have a pretty decent year.
Oh yeah, but I feel like 2021 was her breakout year.
Mm-hmm.
I think now it's about consolidating that. If I'm going with someone who's currently in the company, my choice would be Layla Hirsch.
So we got Hirsch, we got Rosa. On the WWE women's side of things, there were a couple that I had written down that some of them aren't too surprising. I do still think that Bianca Belair is going to have another good year, but 2021 was her year, so I'm not picking her. I think that we're going to see quite a bit of a push for Tiffany Stratton in NXT. It seems like she's a character that people are invested in, and with the way that NXT 2.0 is going, it seems like it's almost, not to crap on the people that are there, but like it almost seems like if you are the antithesis of what the Black and Gold era was, then that's the priority. So she doesn't seem like she's somebody who would have been some hot prospect indie, knows how to wrestle, and that's what she's going to be hanging her hat on type. So they'll probably give her the championship at some point. I think Zoe Stark has a good chance of having a pretty good year in NXT, with the women's championship possibly going to her. But my ultimate pick for the women's division is Raquel Gonzalez. I think she is not only going to be in the Royal Rumble, I think she's going to win the Royal Rumble. And I think she is, at least right now, I'm leaning towards the direction that she is going to face Charlotte Flair for the championship at WrestleMania and beat her. But if they go with Sasha Banks as the pick to fight Charlotte, they could end up going with Raquel against Becky. Or they could go with some other kind of scenario that doesn't include Raquel, but I do think that Raquel is one of the top potential picks to win that, and they seem to like her quite a bit. They've been protecting her, and they put a Cora Jade in that NXT New Year's Evil match pretty much, I think, just so she could take the pin, and it's not Raquel. I'm going Raquel for that one.
So if I'm looking at, when I looked at like the main roster women, just like casually looking over them, I just go, you're either already there or I don't have any faith that they're going to do anything significant with them. The only one that I would say that currently isn't in the top echelon that I think could be a world champion by the end of 2022 is Alexa Bliss. And she's already been there in the past, but I imagine she's going to come back as whatever character she is, and will be pushed heavily again, and it'll be back to the familiar territory of the Four Horsewomen, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and maybe Rhea Ripley, and that's kind of it. And then you look at the NXT side of things. I feel Tiffany Stratton is a safe bet, because I think it's just character work on that front, and the character of the spoiled rich girl is one that's easy to hate, and so she'll immediately go up on the heel rankings in that regard. I think it's very likely that we end 2022 with her as women's champion. But I think in the interim, the one that I'm going to choose is obviously Raquel Gonzalez, because she will go up to the main roster. I think it's a pretty safe bet in that regard, and she probably will win a women's championship. My only caveat with that being is that she'll win a women's championship, she'll probably hold it until SummerSlam, because that seems to be the norm, and then she will be thrown off the face of the earth by whatever Four Horsewomen beats her. Because that seems to be the pattern. If I'm looking outside of that, my gut would go Indy Hartwell.
I had Indy as a potential. I had Indy and Xia Li as two that I were thinking about, but then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, but it makes too much sense. And the way that the world's going this day, like,
I know,
like for Xia Li, for instance, just to pivot over to her for a second and come back to Indy, I was like, oh man, they're doing a lot to invest in this whole, like, they're making the comic book thing and all that. And I'm like, yeah, that probably means she's getting released, because they did a lot of that for other people where they're like, let's go out of our way to push somebody and then at the same time push them out the door. So I'm like, Indy was a part of the Triple H crew, and now with the way that everything happened yesterday, I'm like, almost anybody who was hired under Triple H's reign, I'm worried about their jobs more than anything.
But she has an advantage over a lot of people that from the NXT period, which is that she wasn't a good wrestler under in the Triple H's NXT run. She's someone
very
who's
character driven, yeah,
very character driven, and was green at that point in time. And I'm not saying she's not improving, but it's just a case of she's still not at a level where she can be relied upon to pull out banger matches. So she kind of fits into the current strata of NXT. I just feel like at the moment she's got a partnership with Persia Pirotta, which I think might lead to them winning the tag team titles at some point, and then there's going to be an inevitable feud between the two of them, and Indy will end up being the baby face on that side of things, and she'll probably win that feud and then maybe win the NXT Women's Championship as well, because she's one. It seems odd to say it considering how long she's been there, but she's now one of the veterans of NXT.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's other ones that you could probably point towards, but if you're looking at people that like Aew and Dakota Kai, it's more of a case with them is either they're going up to the main roster or they're getting released. They can't stay in NXT forever.
I'm worried about Dakota. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not worried about them because they'll get released and they'll go else. Yeah. So I'm not worried from that front, but it's more of a case of it's either one way or the other at the moment. I don't see them sitting in NXT for another year, both of them. So, I mean, Maddie Rose, she's currently the champion. I don't imagine she'll win 2022 in NXT, but you never know.
I kind of look at Maddie Rose as like she peaked already, and there's nothing she's going to do this year that's going to surpass what she already did.
Oh yeah, she's absolutely peaked. But I guess the more interesting thing would be what happens with Toxic Attraction and who gets elevated out of that. Because my assumption would be that throughout 2022, Maddie will eventually lose a title, the other two will lose the tag titles, and they'll probably implode, and which one of them gets boosted up to the next level off of beating Mandy Rose, which would probably be Gigi based on the fact that she's more experienced, but who knows, they might like JC better.
Or it might just be the way that, you never see what's happening these days with these releases. It might just be that like they all drop those titles and all three get released on the same week or something,
I mean, who the fuck knows? They could do a special gimmick match where Wendy Chu manages to fall asleep in the ring and fall over onto the champion and pin her.
Right.
God, stop talking. Stop it.
All right. You talk about your one to watch for the women's side.
Let me be real clear here. NXT 2.0 sucks. Dixie Stratton sucks. Wendy Chu sucks. I'm not talking anything about their in-ring ability. I don't like their characters, and I'm not here for it. My one to watch for the women, I don't want to say Raquel because honestly, I think if Raquel gets called up, all they're going to do is pair her with Rhea and win the tag titles because I don't think they're going to run with anybody but the horsewomen at Mania. But I'm going to say my one to watch for the women is Cora Jade because I think they're looking at her and they're like, we have an electric baby face that we can say we created. She's just a kid. So they can say like, this is our female Jeff Hardy here. We're going to mold this person into that underdog. And I think Cora Jade stands a great chance to be NXT Women's Champion by the time this year's out.
It's really sad and interesting. Throughout all this discussion, all three of us, nobody mentioned Io Shirai.
No,
because she should go. She should go elsewhere.
She should go back to Stardom. Realistically, it's a case of I feel like she's peaked already. She's peaked now which is a real shame because she's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. But they're not interested in wrestlers right now, so it's I don't know what. I don't see her winning either the Raw or SmackDown Women's title this year. I might be completely wrong. They might. Well, the most likely situation is that they're keeping her and moving up to the main roster. They're teaming her with Asuka,
right?
And they'll win the pointless women's tag team championships because no one cares about that stuff anyway. I mean, who knows? Beth Phoenix could be the one to watch for 2022 because, if they manage to convince her to. Yeah, if they convince her to go on a Legends run like Edge is doing, then maybe we'll get some good matches out of that. It could be like Rhea's currently seemingly. I think Rhea's being prepped to fight for a world title at WrestleMania, so they could do something in that regards. Again, I don't want to predict people's releases and stuff like that, but actually, there's one other one that stood out to me is Bayley because Bayley will be back in 2022. And she's a 4 horsewoman, so that's really working in her favor.
Oh, if she's healthy enough for the Rumble, I think they're just going to build the Rumble around the 4 of them. I think they're going to build Mania around the 4 of them because fuck everybody else.
I think that there's, oddly enough, a potential chance that we might see, and this is like one of those things where it's like, all right, on paper you can't blame them, and you kind of can't complain.
Like Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley.
I kind of think that there might be a possibility that Bayley returns as a babyface to fight Becky and Sasha is the babyface against Charlotte. And they try to do some kind of shit where it's like on Elimination Chamber or something like let's say like Bayley returns, wins the Royal Rumble, and then Sasha is being set up to fight Charlotte. Whether they do like the Elimination Chamber is how she wins it, or she wins some pointless fucking fatal 4-way, or do they even have 4 people to have on SmackDown at this point? Some kind of number 1 contenders match on SmackDown, or whatever the hell they decided to do. It wouldn't shock me at all if one of these pay-per-views in the meantime is like, okay, it's the Golden Role Models are teaming up against Becky and Charlotte at a tag team match, and that's one of your matches on there, and then they kind of see Charlotte and Becky don't get along and all that, but Bayley and Sasha, the last time that they were together, they were fighting because they love that can they coexist shit, and we could see Bayley and Banks as the 2 baby faces fighting for the 2 championships at Mania this year. It wouldn't shock me. And then you'd be like, well, what about Belair? What about Ripley? Why'd you guys boot Toni Storm out of here by making her feel the way that she felt or whatever it was? And what happened to this one and that one and that one and that one? And hey, how did that push for Shotzi go? And what's up with this one? And where's Aew? And, I think this is like a horrible way to start the year, but even just in the past few days, I'm getting this feeling from day one and from these releases, 2022 is going to suck with WWE. I think this is going to be one of those years we look back on and we go, God damn, 3 last year. Like, I think it's going to be worse. I think it's going to be worse than last year.
Well, yeah, but I still looked at last year and went, fuck it. It's like, I mean, yeah, there's not a great deal of hope surrounding it, considering the fact that, we all mentioned the fact that the old NXT was one of the biggest draws for us personally watching WWE, and now they're systematically removing every aspect of it beyond the one person that they seemingly can't get rid of from that equation. So yeah, the signs aren't pointing too well, but who knows? If you try and look at it in some sort of optimistic view, maybe they're going to make NXT what they've always wanted it to be, and see if that's beneficial or not. And maybe they'll freshen things up on the main roster some way, or who knows? Maybe Goldberg will win the world title again this year.
Well, I mean, we haven't gotten to the men's side yet. We've been talking a lot of tag team stuff. Let's go switch over to that. The AEW tag team division. I had originally Jurassic Express, and they won the titles last night. So,
you started off well then, in that regard.
Yeah. My secondary pick is what I'm going to go with eventually on here, but I'll mention some of the other ones that I had tossed around. I did think that there was a chance that Santana and Ortiz would be the next champions. I do still kind of think that they might win it this year, but now that Jurassic Express are champions, I kind of pushed them down a little bit because I'm like, all right, well, that sort of swept out some of that thunder. I think it's going to be a good year for Varsity Blondes. I don't think they're going to win the tag titles, but I think that they're going to get a solid enough push this year.
I don't think they'll be around.
Oh, you don't think that they're going to be sticking in AEW?
No, I think
they'll be a team.
Yeah, they won't be a team.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll be a team by next month.
Really? You think that this whole infighting thing is going to lead to that?
Griff Garrison is going to side with Malachi Black and the House of Black.
Huh.
That's why I think, Rob, am I right in being like having that interpretation?
No, I think that's a good shot.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. When you mention it, it's just like, hey, I didn't think about that.
No, but if they stay together, then there's a good shot. I just don't feel like it's likely. I think maybe if they stay together and they're both part of the House of Black, then maybe.
I do think it's going to be a pretty decent enough year for Dark Order. I think that they've worked their way through those growing pains, and now people just love them. So don't give them a tag title, or more so, I think that we're getting the trios titles this year, and that kind of bumps up some other teams, and then it makes it so there's double the amount of chances that people can win titles. So my ultimate pick is whatever they end up calling the group of Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. I think that we're going to see the Super Click versus them, with like Kenny Omega and Adam Cole as like the 2 leaders, kind of the split division thing. And then we got Red Dragon against the Young Bucks. And I do think that Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly are winning the trios titles. Or Red Dragon's winning the tag titles. Or both.
I do think Red Dragon stands to win the tag titles because I gush about those three all the time. Not gonna do it here. They're best, but also you got to look at you got the men of the year who I think are underrated as fuck as singles, but they insist on them being a team. So do something with that. I think Sting and Darby might get a courtesy run this year. You know, I can see that.
I wouldn't sleep on that. That's a potential. I don't think it'll be a long reign, but they could win the tag titles. They're undefeated.
A short reign, yeah. Like, because why not give Sting?
Stranger things have happened.
Give Sting something pleasant to go out on. You know what I mean? And then you got to look at the Acclaimed, and the Acclaimed are my one to watch because Tony Khan gushes about these kids every time he talks. He's like, they were just two individual guys. And I made them a tag team, and now they're the Acclaimed, and it's so great. And I've wanted to do the Acclaimed ever since I was a kid, and now I found the guys, and they're gonna be tag team champions.
He wanted to do that since he was a kid?
For as long as he's been fantasy booking, he's had the idea for the Acclaimed, apparently.
Isn't it, like, what's the idea? It's just two cocky heels.
I guess it's like, maybe it's the rapper thing.
Huh.
Yes, the rapper and his hype man.
Yeah.
Maybe he just in his fantasy booking stuff, he had the words the Acclaimed have arrived, and was just kind of like, I gotta do it.
It's some of the ways that AEW is booked. It really do feel like a universe mode on a WWE game, and Tony Khan definitely gives off that fantasy booker energy.
So is it Acclaimed your official pick?
Yep.
So, again, there's a wealth of options in AEW's tag team division. Obviously, Red Dragon or the Trio Collective with them and Adam Cole would be standout names. You obviously can't overlook the Bucks, but I don't think the Bucks will win the tag titles in 22, so I'll count those out. I think that you have to look at the House of Black because Brody King will debut. And Malachi Black and Brody King are the PWG tag team champions. There is a good chance they will become tag team champions in AEW as well. The Acclaimed is a good shout. I think that there's potential there, as would be the case with Santana and Ortiz. I think there's a chance they could put together Hobbs and Hook as a tag team and just or bring someone else into Team Taz and have them go on a tag team run as well. I think it would be negligent to not mention the Hardy Boys.
Oh, good Lord, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
Because they will sign Jeff Hardy. And Matt will end we're definitely not going to mention the Hardy family office as one of the big ones here. But, and frankly, I won't mention anybody within the Hardy family office, even if they break up, because I don't think Private Party or Butcher and the Blade will hold gold.
Unless they go all in on Private Party, because they were prepared to. When the company
I think they've kind of pumped the brakes on that one. In Chaos Project? No, I'm joking. Actually, there's another one that I know Rob has been mooting around of Chris Jericho and Christian.
Yes, Callum, tell me that I'm not onto something here.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see it as a possibility. Like Jericho has to turn heel again at some point because, as much as I think that the issues with him as babyface is a bit overblown, I think he's definitely more dynamic as a heel character, and that obnoxiousness side of his character works so much better as a heel than it does as a babyface. And Christian is clearly turning heel as well. So putting those two together would give them both something to do.
Those two against the Hardy Boys.
Those two against the Hardy Boys. Those two against, Jurassic Express. Really, they can do so much.
I think there could be a shout that's like maybe this is the year where Best Friends win a tag title as well, because they've been that company for a while. They've had.
I think Trent's turning heel.
I don't know. I definitely could see the possibility of. I don't know. Definitely Sean has moved this. I think Johnny Gargano could join the Best Friends if he signs with AEW.
Like Trent has been such an asshole to Wheeler that I just think he's
got Sue. Sue can't be heel.
You gonna tell me you don't know of a mother that can be a little bit of a coddling mother for their child?
No, we're not talking about Buff Bagwell right now. Move on.
There you go. Buff Bagwell joins best friends.
Oh god. No, I think that my choice would be Santana and Ortiz, because I feel like they're well overdue the tag team championships. They're probably the ones that I have the most confidence that haven't held the titles beforehand that will win it this year. They won't be the ones to beat Jurassic Express, but I feel like around about All Out time, they'll probably be the ones positioned to beat them to win the titles from where the heel team is holding it, because I think they work better as baby faces.
So on the WWE side of things,
oh, hang on, also I should moot the idea of the Briscoes as well.
They deserve it,
because the Briscoes could join AEW and be pushed pretty heavily, but realistically, I feel like the only thing they're coming to AEW to do is feud with FTR, and then they'll leave.
Yeah. We have plenty of people that just do like little guest spots here and there. Like Jeff Cobb did like 2 matches and stuff,
I think they could go to New Japan, or they could, or they might go to whatever Ring of Honor ends up becoming after their hiatus. I feel like if there's enough of a shell there to build around afterwards, then they'll stay. Then they'll probably go back to Ring of Honor.
Do you want to do a which one company to watch this year?
In which case, I mean, the one that I will be watching is AEW.
Right, that's the obvious answer.
But I feel like shouldn't sleep on. It entirely depends on in Japan how the things change, whether New Japan has a resurgence or any of the other Japanese promotions built up again. PWG might find its legs again. Obviously, GCW continues to progress forward. It's probably the 3rd biggest promotion right now in North America. I mean, no one's going to watch Impact.
My issue with PWG is they need a better source. Like, they need a better... They're just live shows that are occasionally on, DVD? Like, it's 2022. Get on a streaming platform already.
I think the time is now right for... I think we need another promotion. And that's something I'm hopeful for in 2022, that another promotion pops up that's headed by someone like a Gabe Sapolsky or something.
It's gone now from WWE, so
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. But that's why I brought him up. But something, because there's too much talent out there, and they can't all go to WWE and AEW. I mean, most of them have left WWE in very recent memory, so they're not going to go back. And so there's a wealth of talent out there that won't be showcased enough if they go to one of those 2 promotions. So there needs to be a replace. Either Ring of Honor needs to come back, or there needs to be a replacement for it, and it needs it pretty quickly at this point.
Yeah, the OCD-ish triggers in me that want to merge things just looks at like the Ring of Honor crew and like NWA and Impact and all that, and I just go like, it bugs the shit out of me.
So it's not so much that I want to merge them, but I definitely think there's a beauty in the way that like ECW was of its time and then it went away. These promotions have stayed on for so long that I think they've hampered the idea for something new to come along and have a fresh energy. And I'd love to see that happen this year.
Well, pivoting over to the WWE tag team side of things, what
tag team side of things?
Well, that's where I was going to get to. I thought that I was going to have at least like a couple, and I was like, shit, I almost want to say nobody, because
I mean, I have a pick, but
like the biggest tag team, the best tag team is RK Bro, and they're going to split. The Usos are going to be great. They always are. But like, what's going to be worth really like, okay, they're going to keep the titles for a long time. Okay. Well, we all saw that coming. Are they going to lose it and win it back? Okay, whatever. New Day, they'll win the tag titles again, probably. Love the New Day. They're arguably my favorite tag team of all time. But yeah, whatever. Same old, same old. I was like, fuck. They're going to just like, what do I put down? Like the idea of tagging 2 single stars and giving them a 5-month run.
Well, that's my pick.
Basically, like Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins or something.
Yeah, Kevin and Seth Rollins is my pick. Yeah, because they're clearly going to form a tag team, because then neither of them, I don't think, can get pushed to world championship status this year, and they seem to have good chemistry with each other. So they'll put.
I was hoping they'd have a match together at WrestleMania.
Do you want to start building that in November?
Well, no, I think they're the ones that beat RK Bro.
I think so too.
Because I don't think there's any obvious candidate. It's as much as it looks like they're trying to do that. It's not going to be Africa Academy, because I don't think Chad Gable will last 2022 with the company. And yeah, there's literally like I can't just say the Usos, because I assume they will win the tag title at some point. I don't want to say New Day, because I presume they'll win the tag team titles at some point, and I have no faith with Corbin and Madcap Moss. Got no faith in Humberto and Angel, or Boogs and Shinsuke will probably break up at some point.
Street Profits could turn heel, or they could stay babyface, and they're both going to be great. But what's the standout thing or something? They want to take
Mysterios will break up. Mysterios will break up at some point. You imagine that Cedric and Shelton won't last too long, or either way. So yeah, the realistic thing is probably the standout tag team that we were talking about at the end of 2022 is one that doesn't exist yet. Yeah. I mean, if you look at NXT, you got the Creed brothers.
Well, see, that's where I got into where I started looking to the NXT side of things, because I was then going like, okay, well, what are we at? Because the NXT UK pick, you could pick that too. You could pick something from NXT, you could pick whatever. And then I had 3 teams down. I had down the Creed brothers being one. I had Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs as another one, because it seems like they're kind of pushing them pretty well. And MSK. Because there's a chance that this whole MSK Riddle type thing, we know now that it wasn't supposed to be Riddle. Figured that was probably the case anyway. That maybe they are interested in pushing them more. But I'm hesitant to give them the one to watch, because they were Triple H guys. And they are kind of like smaller and everything. So I ultimately did go with the Creed brothers, because I thought, all right, they fit the bill of this mentality that they've got going on right now, which is young athlete that we can teach to be a star. These guys are just wrestlers. And there's like nothing to them other than, look at those 2 wrestler guys. They're probably like the template of what they want to try to push. And they're good. You know, they're fun to watch in the ring and everything. Diamond Mine's not lasting, but Creed brothers will. I think they're winning the tag titles this year, and I think that they might end up getting hot-shotted, actually, to the main roster.
I did not think about the Creed brothers getting hot-shotted to the main roster. That's not something that's crossed my mind at all, because I think if Diamond Mine ends, then they're all gone.
I think Roddy's gone. I think Bivens is gone. Hachiman's already gone. I think Creed brothers are going to be the ones that stick. And I think Ivy, it's kind of 50-50.
I think she'll stick around. I don't think there's any real reason to get rid of her at this point. But then again, there's no reason to get rid of most people they've gotten rid of, but you know.
Right.
Right. Well, look, I'm not going to make this long. It's the New Day, because they exist. And they're going to be tag team champions forever, because until the New Day and the Usos retire, they're not going to do anything other with the tag team division than just focus on them. Would I like to see Diamond Mine or the Creed brothers, get a shot? Would I like to see Gable and his brother get a shot? Sure. But I think it's just going to be makeshift tag teams, New Day and Usos all year long. And as much as I think Rollins and Owens might be fun, why would you do that when fucking Sami Zayn is still with the company? Just give them, why do you complicate things? If you're going to have Owens win the tag titles with somebody, make it Sami Zayn or don't do it at all.
Again, it makes too much sense, so that's why they tend not to do it, because that's exactly the type of thing that down the line will go like, why didn't this just happen? And then
they've already done Owens and Zayn as tag team, and they decided not to give them the titles then. Yeah, they decided not to give them the titles. So what's the fault of if they put them back together that they will give them the tag
titles? I'm sorry, should we all be focused on Ricochet and Cesaro this year? Is that what we're doing?
Well, no, of course not.
Not a chance that they get anyway.
You shouldn't have any real investment in anybody that's in the main event tag team scene other than RK Bro, and the only reason we're invested in that is because they're good as a team and they'll be a good feud beyond that as well, because we all know where that ends.
Yeah.
We all know that will end this year. So getting invested in any other tag team on the main roster at the very least seems pretty counterintuitive, because we know how WWE's approach to tag team wrestling is. Throw two single guys together and see how it works. And then eventually give it to a tag team. But then, only until we can get two other singles guys together to take it off them.
Are we feeling Briggs and Jensen?
I'm not really feeling them, but I think that they are.
I think there's a better chance that Gacy and Harlan win the tag titles this year.
That's a weird pair. Like,
I know.
They keep going in directions where I'm just sort of like,
dude, every time I watch that show, I'm like, what are they? I don't know what they're doing. What is the gimmick?
Well, it's I don't know how to describe it other than it's a guy who.
It's 2022, but you don't know how to describe it. Like, I get
it's basically the martyr of cancel culture and his pet incel.
Yeah, kind of. But it's like, even just the way that they are, like, the trajectory that they're going with them changes so often, because it started out with like Gacy and Harlan just kind of forming a team, and it made sense. And then Gacy started doing the whole thing with the cruiserweight division, and that was like a 5-week thing that led to Carmelo Hayes merging the titles. Like, what? And Harlan now is like picking people up and potentially throwing them off rooftops, but that's leading to seemingly Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward turning babyface. Like, I'm exhausted trying to figure out heel and face dynamics on NXT at this point. NXT UK at this point too. Shit.
Get to it.
This episode of NXT UK seemingly turned Amale and Stevie Turner, and I'm like, I'm fucking tired of that. But like, Harlan and Gacy, I hate it. I don't like it. Like, I don't mind the gimmick, but I don't like these two in that position. I don't know if I would like them at other stuff. I don't know if, like, Harlan by himself, if he would have just came in as Brock Lesnar Jr. and they just would have done that, then if that would have been okay or whatever. But like, I don't want them to be my one to watch, because I don't want to see that tag team get more of the spotlight, you know?
I just want them to go away.
Yeah.
You know, like, I just want them to go away. At
this point, I kind of just want NXT 2.0 to go away.
I want it to go back to being a network exclusive. It doesn't need to be on USA.
I wouldn't mind NXT.
Look, and I understand that there are contracts. Don't get me wrong. I understand that there are contracts, but that doesn't need to be a thing. You know, that doesn't need to be on USA Network when they don't know what they want from their new talent. So why is it there?
Yeah, we're getting in the weeds with the whole, like, those things. Ultimate picks for the tag team divisions. I went Creed Brothers. What did you go, Callum?
Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens.
That one's in Rollins. What was your pick, Rob?
New Day.
All right, so let's switch over to the men's division. Of course, this has the most amount of people to pick from. And I had 4 down for AEW that I thought were worth keeping a particular eye on. Jungle Boy. And look at that. He won a tag team title. I think it's going to be a good year for Wardlow. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the year for Wardlow. I think that's going to be next year. But I do think that we're going to see a continued push for him. And then that's the 2 that I couldn't quite decide which one I'm going to go towards. I'm leaning towards one more than the other. But Adam Cole, I think he's going to have a hell of a year.
He's and one to watch always.
He is your one to watch?
Oh, always. Adam Cole's the best fucking wrestler alive, and he'll be my one to watch until he's done wrestling.
So are you in the same boat as I am, where you think that he's going to win potentially even 2 championships this year? Like, he win like a tag title of some sort and maybe the TNT title?
I think he should win the world title by Full Gear. I really do. Like, if you have him in his prime, why wouldn't you run with him? There's a lot of people there, though, that I can apply that to.
That's where I go with MJF, though.
I think MJF is next year.
I think he's
so far thinking with MJF with the 2024 stuff. They can have him just milk that forever.
I think this is the year MJF wins the title from Paige. And I think 2023 is when Wardlow beats MJF. But Cole, I think, is going to be like the secondary guy. Like, he is going to, I guess, kind of fit the bill that MJF had been in, while MJF takes that step up a little bit, if you know what I mean. Because, like, for the longest time, MJF was pretty much the de facto number 2 heel in the company behind Jericho. And then, you know, they're eventually going to have to switch some people over here and there. And I guess it kind of depends. My pick is either it's Cole or MJF. Do you go with the one who you think is going to win the world title, or do you go with the one who you think is going to have a breakout kind of year or lots of success all the way around? If you go the all the way around, I go Cole. If you go with the top thing, I go MJF. Who you got, Callum?
Oh, there are so many options, realistically. I mean, they haven't even mentioned Punk at all, but it's a case of whether we think he's going to win the title. I can't go 2022 without Bryan Danielson winning a title at some point. He's the best wrestler in the world.
I don't know who's champion or who isn't, but I think it'll be Bryan Punk all-out world title.
I don't feel like they'll face each other. I'm in the boat with Tony where I feel MJF's winning the title this year. I don't think Wardlow's the one that takes the title off of him, because he's not ready for that, and he won't be ready even by next year, I don't think. Especially considering it's one of the weird things where, like, you've got Jade Cargill, who's obviously the women's champion right now, but with the wealth of men's talent that you have on this on AEW, giving the world championship to Wardlow just seems like, what the fuck are you doing? That type of approach. Whereas I feel like MJF, Bryan Danielson could be the guy to take the world title off MJF. But there's obviously options with that. Cole, it's big part. Actually, I didn't even mention this for the tag teams one as well, but there's a Top Flight to consider, or just Dante Martin as an individual. I think it's going to be an interesting year for Cody Rhodes, because I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like, he goes all over the place. His trajectory could be anything this year. You could a guy like Ricky Starks, but they seem to still be stalling a little bit on him. You look at guys that are currently not in the company, like Keith Lee.
Man, he was my one to watch last year.
Yeah. Keith Lee and Swerve Scott are the ones that immediately spring to mind as potential ones that, if they joined AEW, could make a big splash. Same thing with Jonathan Gresham if he was to sign as well. So those are the main ones that I'm kind of thinking of for, like, non-people within the company right now that could do something. But again, I might be buying into hype a little bit too much, or just going with the popular opinion at this moment in time. But I feel the one to watch is Hook. He will be TNT champion this year. He'll be FTW champion this year. And he'll make it more a thing. I just feel like, I mean, if you just listen to the latest episode of AEW, and there was obviously a lot of great stuff on that show, but one of the loudest pops the entire night was the announcement that he's facing fucking Aaron Solo on Rampage. Just a case of, yeah, this guy is, you can call it like being driven by mean potential, whatever, but like, if you're over, you're over. Doesn't matter how you get over.
I gotta cut in just because Solo has no charisma, and I don't know what that is. Like,
I mean, he's being managed by QT Marshall, so maybe that's part of it. But it's just a case of he's getting huge reactions, whether you think it's just because people see him as a meme or not. As I say, if you're over, you're over. It doesn't matter how it gets there. And the fact is, he's having good matches so far. He's beating people. He's no-selling offense in certain aspects. He's going to spend the first half of the year beating up guys lower in the card, and eventually he's going to face someone big. And eventually he's going to be part of a big storyline, probably revolving around the implosion or the reformation of Team Taz, with him and Hobbs is another good choice as well. I don't think Hobbs will win a world title this year or even the TNT Championship. It will challenge for both. But yeah, I think my choice would be like go with the hot hand at the moment, and that the hot hand is Hook.
The hot hand is Hook.
I will say if Cole,
he doesn't have a hook for a hand. Obviously.
Yeah, that's what I was going with.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! I will say if I wasn't going Cole, my pick would be Cody, because this has to be the year they do something with him. Because in 2019, obviously the promotion was fresh. He did some cool things, but then he imposed that rule on himself. He spent 2020 with the TBS title. 2021 was spent in the awful Codyverse, and I really just hope that this is the year that he's a main event star, because he should be, and he's good enough to be. And I feel like the fact that he's an EVP got so in the way of that he cut his own career short.
I think the most exciting thing is that I think we could all probably look at the roster and think that at least half a dozen people could be world champion between now and the end, or at least have the potential to be world champion between now and the end of 2022. Because you look at people like MJF, Cody, if he decides to break the rule and turn heel, Danielson, Punk, Wardlow, if they decide to fast track that thing. Probably could look at someone like Moxley will come back. You got Keith Lee that could come in. Malachi Black could win the world title, I think, if they decide to push in that direction. So I'd say there's probably at least 5 or 6 people that haven't held the world title already. Because also you have to realize the fact that Omega will come back at some point and he'll do his thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a significant bevy of people that could win the world title for the first time this year.
It's so night and day that there's like a bevy of options to go with that could, if you keep Paige as champion, just keeping Paige as champion for an entire year, you've got options of things that can be fun. You've got the rematch with Omega. You've got these heel turns that, like what if they do like a Christian heel turn? You could do like a one-off, Christian against Paige on like Fyter Fest or whatever the fuck. You've got the MJF thing with Paige, which is a long time coming. You've got, God, it's just there's so much to look forward to in AEW this year and so little to be excited about with WWE that it's astonishing, the dichotomy. So yeah, on the WWE side of things, man, it's a lot harder to go with that. And I wrote down 6 names, and every single one of them except for one is on the NXT side of things. Because I'm like, I just don't see anything happening on the main roster this year other than literally, we've got the Brock thing, we've got the Roman thing, fuck everything else. I really think that they legitimately do not care about any part of the show except for that. I think that they think, whether they have Vince at the top saying this or Nick Khan or both or whatever, I really think that they are looking at WWE as a whole right now as it's a one-track show. We used to have Hogan and that's all that mattered. Let's go back in time and have one thing, even though we've got 9 fucking hours that we go through at TV every week. So if you honestly, go ahead.
Just real quick, I don't think that they think like that. And I think that that's part of the problem, is they don't think that they have one guy in their mind, because they keep marketing it like this. They go, oh, well, we've got Big E and we've got this one and that one. And it's like, yeah, but you don't treat them like stars. You say this and then your actions show opposite, and we don't know what to think as viewers. So I think they would do better to go back to the Hogan era, where it was like, it's fucking Hogan. You know who it is.
Well, I do think that if you go with like the technically speaking one to watch this year, it's Brock Lesnar, because I think that everything kind of depends on what do they do with Brock and Roman, that kind of thing. But on the main roster side of things, the only person that I think they actually have any investment in is Riddle.
Yeah, I knew that was your pick. I was going to just predict it, but yeah, I think that's the most obvious one for the main roster. I don't think realistically the obvious choices for the main roster are interconnected, because I think the main choices are Riddle and Randy Orton.
I think that Damian Priest has some value to that.
Listen, we have to consider the possibility, whether we like it or not, that Omos is getting pushed this year.
It's another possibility too. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that this is going to be one of those things that fizzles out very quickly, and by WrestleMania he might be gone. Actually,
I think at WrestleMania he's fighting Big E.
Why Big E?
I think at WrestleMania he's winning the Battle Royal.
Oh, he can win the Andre. Yeah.
And
remember what I said? He can win the Andre.
And also, I want to put this out, because technically this person is on the main roster. I think Gable Stevenson wins the United States Championship this year.
That's one of the people that's on my list that I kind of just lumped into the NXT side, but he really technically is on the main roster because he's drafted the Raw. I didn't think about that. But yeah, I think that Gable Stevenson is not only going to have a match at WrestleMania, I think he's going to win a match at WrestleMania, either against Damian Priest or Bobby Lashley. And I think that there's a chance that they try to go whole hog on him. I think that they're like, again, we mentioned it, they did this whole next in line thing. They've got this idea of like, just bring in a bunch of athletes and we'll teach them. They seem to think for some reason that he is just going to be another Kurt Angle. And there's a good chance that they, whether it's a complete failure or it works out perfectly, there's a good chance that they push him heavily this year. So he is on my list. He's not my one to watch. Like I kind of split it as like main roster and NXT. The main roster, I went more for Riddle. Because I do think that Riddle is kind of in one of those positions where, you know, he is going to have this whole feud with Randy Orton. And I think that if anybody's going to win their first world title this year, it's Riddle. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen either. Carmelo Hayes, I think, is somebody to watch out for. They seem to really like him in NXT.
I think he's one of the only two that can actually carry through on being something special for the company.
They seem real high on Grayson Waller.
Fuck him. I don't get it. You get it, Callum? I don't get it.
I'm starting to get it. But
please explain.
I feel like he has more charisma than they're letting on at this point. I think now that they've started to go with this most hated guy in NXT kind of moniker, I feel he's starting to thrive a little bit more. I mean, it's obvious they see something in him. You wouldn't put him in the ring with AJ Styles if you didn't see something in him. So whether we see it or not is kind of irrelevant if we think that he's going to be the one to watch. And yeah, I think he's definitely the guy that will beat Braun Breaker for the world title.
I think so too. And of course, we got to talk Braun Breaker because Braun Breaker is now the NXT champion.
I'm waiting for 2023 for him.
What's that?
I'm waiting for 2023
next year.
Yeah, because he'll win the Royal Rumble next year.
I kind of think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm leaving it out because he's already done the biggest thing I think he's going to do this year.
What? Kick the X in half?
All that, and he's now the world champion. I assume he's going to hold the world title for at least until about SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
And then he will drop it to I mean, Waller's the choice right now, but then again, Waller might have fizzled out by that point. So you never know. But I feel like
this is a really quick yes or no. Do you think that they need new belts because the other belts are too tied to the black and gold?
Like the logo looks different and everything?
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, if they want to go like whole hog with this thing, then they probably should do a complete rebranding of that stuff.
I think it's going to depend on whether or not we see some kind of change with this North American thing.
Well, and also I feel like it depends on whether we're going to see some change in the fact of this NXT 2.0 isn't working in terms of ratings and stuff like that. So I think there's a good chance that we see NXT 3.0 by the end of the year.
I think that they might rebrand it to something like, not 3.0, but I think that they might just
brand it something else.
Yeah.
So I think that honestly they're going to go, well, New Year's Evil did great viewership, and whenever we have our new guys in the front, they do great viewership.
It's 600,000 good viewership for them now.
Yeah.
Fucking
now.
hell.
Yeah.
But they also had the benefit of AJ Styles, Riddle, and Walter on the show.
Oh, I think that that's a thing going forward.
If they keep doing that, then they keep convincing themselves. Then, I mean, there's no limit to self-delusion. We know that, of course.
Yeah.
But
yeah, but I just feel like 600 plus thousand viewers and a 0.16. If they think that's successful, then they're like in real. Then okay, then
they
has the lowest bar possible. I don't know if they'll even start panicking until it drops below the 0.1 for the 18 to 49.
Another name I think in the NXT men's division spectrum that is worth watching is Zion Quinn.
He looks great.
Yeah, guy looks like a beast.
All you need.
So they seem to be kind of pushing him, and he's not in like a title scene or something right now, but I think that's because they kind of just want to focus on some other people for those titles. But I'm kind of thinking there's a chance. I don't know. This is just one of those stupid things. There's a chance that that's one of those guys that he just like, when he starts getting higher up in NXT, they just bump him to the main roster too. Sometimes that happens with people. It'll be like, wasn't this guy just on NXT and now they're just hot shotting him and whatever? I think that maybe for him, but I'm ultimately going Riddle because I do think that as much as Braun Breaker is going to have like a lot of focal points on him, he already did it. And Gable Steveson still hasn't wrestled. So, even though I do think that they're going to push him heavily this year, maybe there is something weird with those contracts. Maybe he doesn't get started until midway through the year or even longer. So kind of iffy on that. At least with Riddle, it should realistically work where he beats Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And then going forward, he should be one of those top people that could potentially win that WWE championship down the line.
I'm going. Yeah, I would go Breaker, except I think like I'd rather focus on the main roster, and I'm going Priest because I still think even if he's gone past the point of being the guy that they want to focus on going to Mania, he's the guy that they're going to want to put the belt on going into like a Survivor Series, or he's that backup player.
I mean, my main roster one, I'm surprised he hasn't been brought up yet, is Veer. No, I'm joking.
It's Mahan's not even advertised as coming anymore.
I know. Yeah, he came a while ago, I guess. I mean, Riddle was the obvious choice for the main roster for me. I've already spoken about it with at the end of the year awards. I feel like he's going to win a world title this year. So yeah, I think that's probably the safest bet that I have. As a guy who they clearly like, and I like, and I think most people like. So that seems like the biggest slam dunk to become a world champion, especially because I can't see anybody beating Roman Reigns on the SmackDown side this year. So I don't even want to think about that side of it, because he's just he'll hold on to that belt either until Brock decides he wants it or until The Rock becomes available. So, and even then he probably still won't drop it.
Yeah.
But it's more on the NXT side that I'll look towards for my actual pick. And I think it's probably, again, the safest bet is probably Grayson Waller. They clearly like him. They're gonna have him at least wrestle AJ Styles. I don't know if he'll beat him, but if he does, then that's a clear sign that okay, we want this guy to be in the world title picture eventually. But I could also see some things where, I mean, as much as I'd hate this, like Von Wagner. They clearly, again, it's a guy they clearly like and he's big, and that's what they want right now. And that's
I understand. You understand that I just don't like any of this. Like,
well, put it this way: if Walt was sticking around and he's going to the American shows, one of the American shows, whichever one it is, whether it's NXT 2.0 or whether it's Raw or SmackDown, you have to imagine that. Well, I would say I'd like to imagine, but then again, I don't see them handling Walter correctly, because the one time they did use him on a main roster show, they pinned him in 2 minutes, and
he lost the 6-man tag. He didn't get pinned, but he lost it, so that's another loss on his win-loss record.
So I'll say this: the 2 champions they have in the main show and Braun Breaker, great opponents for Walter. I can see them thinking Braun Breaker versus Walter is like a major matchup, and I want to see it.
And I can't really see like other ones. Like it feels like The only other one that I feel like could have some sort of potential, I don't know, and I don't know where this potential would lead him to, is Solo Sikoa.
Yeah,
because
he's got that lineage.
Yeah, he's clearly got the Samoan lineage, but that could be a guy that we just see. Okay, eventually they decide we call him Josh Uso, and we call him up to be the third Uso.
What is his name? Because that's the Jimmy and Jay are John and Josh.
Joseph Fatu. So he's Joseph. So it'd be Joseph Uso.
Is he really Joe Fatu?
So he'd be Joe Uso. Yeah. Or Joey Uso.
I thought one of them was Joe, but no, Roman's Joe.
Yeah, but he's not Uso, is he? Oh, he's not Fatu, is he?
He's not Fatu, he's on Hawaii.
Yeah, so he's... Yeah.
God, there's 3 Samoan Joes.
Oh,
God, what if that's what they called him? What if they called him Samoan Joe? He's at the end, and Samoan Joe's just like, guys, I'm right fucking here. Like, and they're like, oh, you're still here, you're fired. Because that's probably how they treat it. But, is Joe taking over for real in Regal, you think?
I think
he was at that tryout. He'll get released in the next 2 months, probably.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to think because he's a Triple H guy, and every Triple H guy seems to be getting released. So
he's one I would not be sad for because there's a whole lot of other people on another show.
Yeah,
that should wrestle Samoa Joe.
Yeah, well, it's just one of the points of I can't. I mean, we've talked about this at length already, so I don't want to hammer home the point. But just a case of anybody that was part of the old NXT, their position seems unclear, uncertain at the very least. And the only people that are probably safe from that era are Triple H himself because of obviously the family ties and stuff along those lines, and Shawn Michaels because Vince probably still wants to fuck him.
God. Yeah, they did give him a title though. He does have the what is he? The vice of talent development.
I mean, who knows? Maybe 2022 is the year of Shawn Michaels. They convince him to come out of retirement. That's one more part-time star they can rely on at this point in time.
Bro, I've seen Shawn Michaels without a hat too much. I don't want him to come out of retirement.
Yeah, no.
So
at this point, just fucking do it. Like, just save the day, Sean. You know. So if we have to pick, you got to pick just one person from AEW on all of your whole list. You got to pick one person from WWE on your whole list, and then you got to pick one person between your whole list. Doesn't matter AEW or WWE. Your overall ones to watch. I guess. I'm leaning towards Adam Cole for my AEW pick, just because I think that, you know, the potential of 2 different tag teams for title reigns and the TNT title and even the world title. I'm leaning towards just Riddle being one of their only real focal points for the WWE side of things, and then I'm ultimately going between the two. The one that I have even more faith in is Adam Cole. So my real one to watch for this year is Adam Cole.
Well, my real one to watch is the entire AEW roster. But my overall one to watch will also be Adam Cole because he's like, just genuinely, he's like one of the last guys that I actually say, no, whatever else is happening, I'll watch this because he's here. So I'm going Adam Cole.
So I have a joke overall one as well as my real one.
Nick.
It could be Nick. It could be Nick. My joke one is William Regal.
Oh, well, I absolutely want to see where he goes.
Yeah, because I'm just fascinated by what's going to happen there because it's so bizarre. It was so unbelievably bizarre that he's now unemployed. And so whether it is AEW and he becomes some sort of commissioner figure or just a trainer or whatever backstage, or he's one of the people that gets turned towards for a new promotion coming forward, I just feel like he's such a wealth of wrestling knowledge and understanding that wherever he goes, I'm kind of interested in watching wherever it is.
All of the NXT, like the Gabe Sapolskys, the William Regals, they need to go somewhere, and a money guy needs to back something new, and just so we can have like a legit number 3. And then I think wrestling will genuinely be in the best position it's been in years. Like, we need a third place. I'm sorry, it ain't Impact for me. Impact is great, right? But like, it will never be Impact because they've, had too many shots. GCW, you can't put that on television. So
here's where Jeff Jarrett's like, well, let me.
Jeff Jarrett's
he's turned up in GCW.
The GCW show at a Hammerstein.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Jeff. Let's see if Jeff can do it for another time.
Well, fourth.
Yeah, fourth time's the charm. But I for my actual pick, got 2 words for you. Send Hook.
All right.
I just think they've got something with him. Whether it's sustainable, I don't know, but I just have a feeling that he's going to be. He feels like a big deal already. 2022 will be the formative year for him to basically set him up for the rest of his career, pretty much.
You think he's getting a match with Paige?
No.
I think he gets the match with Cody. I think he stands a good chance to beat Cody.
I feel like there's a good chance that he will be TNT champion by the end of the year. I don't think he'll be any further than that. But I feel like he'll be a name. He will be at least one big name by the end of 2022. And if I had a choice in that front, I feel like it would be someone like a Moxley or Kingston. That you just like, okay, that guy is a big deal. Hook's beating him. I feel there's also a very good chance that Hook goes 2022 unbeaten.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's not hard to do.
I can just imagine a scenario that would be kind of funny where it would be like Paige is talking about, like, oh, I'll take on any comers. Like, I'm a fighting champion, if Omega wants another shot, he can come out here and he can fight me. If Danielson wants to go around again, I'll beat his ass again. You know what? Send Hook. Like that kind of thing. Like,
yeah, I think like my realistic hope for Hook is that he beats Ricky Starks for the FTW championship, and then he defends it every week.
I'd be down for that 100%. He's my current pick for who the next FTW champion should be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I feel like in that instance, you turn Ricky Starks babyface and hopefully gets his motor running again. But it would be a case of just have Hook win it and just beat a load of lower card guys comprehensively over and over again until someone big finally has to challenge him. And then have Hook beat some people that have a bit more name value attached to them. I feel like that's the trajectory for him.
Or you turn Hook babyface.
You could. Well, he is a babyface. He's facing Aaron Solo next. Everyone loves Hook. Hook is a babyface that is part of Team Taz.
Yeah, but I mean, like, instead of, you said turn Starks babyface.
Oh yeah, you could.
Like,
you could have Starks the heel. Like, you could be a jealous heel that gets. But I just feel like Team Taz works so much better as a heel because Taz works so much better as a heel.
Yeah. I can just see a scenario where like Hook wins that title, and then down the line, he's the one that potentially beats Cody for the TNT title or something, because it's like, oh, you're FTW champion. That's not even a real belt, like that kind of thing. Or I don't know.
Well, I don't really have a huge belief that Cody will be TNT champion at the end of the year. Like considering how the TNT title changes hands, Cody will be lucky to be TNT champion by the time Revolution comes around.
What's the average time for these title reigns?
TNT champion, I think it's probably about 2 months, right? 2-3 months, maybe at most. Because Miro held it for about 3 months. Cody, the first time, held it for about 3 months. Brody held it for about that time. Cody then held it for like 2 weeks. Like Darby's the longest champion, isn't he?
I think so.
So How long did he? I'll do a quick search once I actually find the TNT championship on Wikipedia. Let's see. Longest reign was Darby Allin with 186 days. So it's Cody 82 days, Brody Lee 55, Cody 31, Darby 186, Miro 140, Sammy 84, Cody. So yeah, I'd say the average is about 2-3 months.
Yeah. Well, that's the title to look out for. These are some people to watch out for. That's the whole point of the one to watch. These past couple of years, we've been all over the place with the one to watch, and then usually at the end of the year, we end up going, well, goddamn, that person got like fired and stuff with WWE at the very least.
Because we can't pick Velveteen Dream this year.
Yeah, that was what I had picked Keith Lee last year, so that went well. And I think Velveteen Dream the year before that.
Yeah, and then several other times in previous years, you picked someone that got injured for the rest of the year, and you picked Daniel Bryan when he had to go out.
Yeah, so sorry, Riddle.
All right. What did you pick?
He picked Adam Cole. Yeah, so you've so good luck with that one.
Well, at least on the WWE side, I picked Riddle. So with Riddle, I'm worried about with that. Adam Cole, I don't know. I don't remember who I picked for AEW last year because we did that as a Darkcast, but worrisome. It should be at all positive, optimistic kind of thing, but the way that things have been.
You have a really rough go at things at the start of the year, don't you, Tony? You're either picking people who end up not having great years or chopping a thumb off, or what's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know. Hit up the Patreon. Yeah, that's our picks. We want to know what you have to say. Drop a comment below. Tell us who you would pick for these different categories and who is your overall one to watch for 2022. Tell us how you had played out last year with who you picked, and whether that was on the positive or the negative side of things. The next couple of things that we have going for this podcast and this whole January block that we are trying to plan out are a little bit up in the air. We have more ideas than what we have time to do, which is good. But then again, it'd be great if we could do them all. So we're currently kind of in a little bit of a questioning pattern, but this is my thought process at the moment. I'm thinking of merging the hot tags with the mailbag going forward and making that just a regular thing where it's like, okay, that week we do the hot tags as the mailbag. We do the mailbag on like a Friday before SmackDown, or we do it on the Saturday after that. And then we can kind of keep that week open for like another thing, whether we do more of like the fantasy booking stuff or we do another main event that we think of on that particular spot. At least as far as options coming up, we should be doing another fan announce table of another Royal Rumble. Haven't decided which one yet. I'm currently leaning more towards 2002, but I put up a poll on the Mega Maniacs, so if you want to vote on that, go ahead. Mailbag coming up next week in some fashion. Don't know exactly when 100%, but we're going to try to figure that out. We got the potential of a Mount Rushmore of Royal Rumble competitors. That was something that we were talking about to do a couple months ago. We brought that up. We might do like a crowning Mr. Royal Rumble kind of deal. Maybe even as a part of the Mount Rushmore. Maybe like we figure out the Mount Rushmore, then we got to pick one of those four. We were thinking about doing a fantasy all-time Royal Rumble from the mock draft stuff that we had done, that ultimate roster that we had sorted out. I don't know. Which ones are you more interested in seeing? Drop a comment. Let us know. We'll factor that in and we'll figure out our plans. But if you are subscribed to the channel and if you are paying attention at smarkoutmoment.com, then you will be aware of whatever goes up when it goes up. If you ring that little notification bell, you'll know when we go live for the mailbag, whichever day that might be. Still trying to figure that out, so I can't tell you exactly when, but if you want to make sure that you send in mailbag questions ahead of time, just in case you aren't going to be able to show up for the live thing, send those mailbag questions in now while you're thinking about it. You got a couple days so you can send them in at the very least, but that's all happening. So follow us at Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment. Follow what is happening over on Fanboys Anonymous, of course, on fanboysanonymous.com and all those channels and stuff. You can follow me at Tony Mango all over the place. You can follow what these guys have going on as well. Rob?
Yeah, you can follow me all over the place at Dude Felice. It is 2022. I'm currently speaking on my Rode Procaster. I got a new soundboard. I got a green screen behind me. I have some big hopes for 2022, and I hope you all follow along. But for now, I'll pass you over to Cal.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Check out everything on the Smark Amount website, but including the power rankings, because that's the one that I contribute. So make sure you prioritize that. And yeah, hopefully there will be some big things coming around in 2022 as well on our front, on my front, and the entire podcast front.
All right, on the Tony front, let's hear it for Tony. Hip hip. All right.
Hip hip toss.
I get it. Want to make some sort of a joke about Hip from The Man with the Golden Gun, but I can't think of any. Anyway, it is what it is.
I said on the podcast yesterday that Jade Cargill would be a good Mayday.
Yeah, you know what? I could see that.
I was happy about that.
If they were to ever like recast and
last year.
Do a reboot of A View to a Kill, which would be totally random, but hey, why not? Mayday's awesome. Check that out if you're interested in that. We did a whole lot of those episodes last year and tons of fun for that. Still might do something to piggyback off of that down the line. I hear that they might be doing some kind of a GoldenEye remake for the video games. I'm like, wait, what? So I'm going to pay attention to that. But we'll see what happens over on Fanboys. We'll see what happens on Smark. We'll see what happens if any other projects pop up, because there are some other projects I'm interested in doing. So just strap yourselves in. And we will see you next time with whatever that part is, whether it's the hot tags or whatever it is that you're listening to next. Adios for now, though, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.